send the message and be able to communicate that these are triggers for me without constantly feeling like I'm talking about myself and then bringing him down. And you know, that's what's hard is like we are so different.
Of course. And here's the thing, everybody on paper can be similar. They can like the same things, they can be from the same culture, speak the same language, but how we know we're similar or not is the level of trauma we experienced as a child, because then we know how, if we got similar triggers and if we know how to soothe one another. Now, being traumatized as a child like you were with a combination of abuse, here's the thing, parents can traumatize you in two different ways. One can be active, where they actively abuse you, negative, physical, emotional, actually abuse you. The other can be passive, where they don't give you support and they give you neglect and they don't show concern for your emotion. Both are equally damaging. Both are. So people, when they think of trauma, they think, well, nobody hit me in the house, I can't be that and I was never sexually abused, so I'm not traumatized. But having a parent watching you in pain and not offering you a hand is trauma. Because what happens then is a child has no one to soothe their emotions. When they're going through pain, they have no one to soothe them. So nobody's there to kind of coddle them. So they then have to do it to themselves and they don't know how to soothe themselves. So they develop coping mechanisms. And what these coping mechanisms tend to look like is very self-sabotaging. What a coping mechanism might be is being incredibly addicted to something. It might be addicted to a person, might be addicted to a feeling, might be addicted to a substance. But it's a way of calming yourself down, but it's false calm. It's not, the pain is still there. And it's how you know the pain is still there is the moment somebody replicates anything that reminds you of either the abuse or the neglect, you react as if they've burnt you alive. You react as if you burnt them alive, and they're going to try and give you water, but you're rejecting it and then blaming them for not saving you. That's what it really feels like when you've been traumatized. And it's really difficult because the person who's been traumatized wants nothing more than love. But because it's so unfamiliar to them, when they get it, they're suspicious of it and they reject it and they test it and they punish the person who's trying to love them unless they meet somebody who's bad for them. When they meet somebody who's bad for them and is also abusive and is also neglectful, this feels familiar. I know how to navigate this person. I'm going to love you with all my heart. But somebody who's consistent, caring and loving, what's wrong with you? Why are you loving me? This can't be real. Let me test you. Let me swear at you. Let me shout at you. Let me pretend to break up with you. Let me test you. But you, the abusive, neglectful, narcissistic kind of partner, you're exactly what the doctor ordered. I know exactly what to do with you, so I'm going to love you endlessly. So the person ends up being very traumatized and re-traumatizing themselves and reincarnating the abuse almost voluntarily. But of course it's not voluntary. It's all like you have like trauma is like a little puppet master that tells cycle. You what to do. So that's the baseline of trauma.
You literally just defined exactly what I go through. I literally don't know how to let someone love me.
Well, here's what you do know. When you get abused as a child, you develop a core belief. And what that core belief will be is no one loves you, no one cares about you, you're unworthy, and you deserve this. Because this is what a child's going to learn. They're not going to learn, I hate my dad's horrible, my mum's a bitch. They're not going to learn that because we are programmed to love our parents. Whether we like it or not, it's in us, because if we don't love them, we have no one to save us, we die. So we're programmed to love them. When they start abusing us, we don't stop and think, dad's on a substance, mum is just really detached. We think, I'm unlovable, I'm disagreeable, I'm the problem. So we develop this deep down inside of us, and then we go through life looking for people to validate that belief.
Wow.
So we look for somebody who reminds us that we're unlovable, we deserve pain. When we meet somebody who doesn't remind us of that, that's weird, that's uncomfortable. You almost punish them for trying to love you. And they're like, but I love you. I don't understand what. Yeah. And you're there like, you have this trigger and you explode at them. And then afterwards you're like, but this is all I've ever wanted. Why am I punishing my partner? And you're almost then crying and they're like looking at you like you're bipolar. But it's because you have that inner child that's broken and the adult that wants to be with this healthy relationship.
Right.
And they're constantly battling each other.
Absolutely. You just nailed it right on the head. I mean, that's the exact thing that I've said to myself and I've written in a journal. It's like, I don't understand what this is everything every girl wants. I mean, he is such a great partner and he does support me.
And a great father as well.
And a great father as well. The thing is, the nature of his job, now I feel like I'm in a therapy session.
Please
but
do,
let's
please.
Go.
This is my favorite part of life, so please do.
The nature of his job is to be away a lot. And
Yes.
for me, that's how I feel. And for a while, I couldn't really say those words because I felt I could hear my mom saying, "Oh God, all you do is complain. You know, everyone would dream of going to America by themselves and starting their dream. You've always said you love California. Stop moaning." And that's why I never said the words of I was abandoned until I went through therapy. And now I'm okay with saying I survived abandonment
extreme
and
abandonment.
neglect. Right.
Yeah.
So when he leaves, I feel abandoned. So I resent him.
Yeah.
And then he calls me and he's checking on me all day. He's constantly trying to meet my needs a long distance. But I just feel like I don't like him.
Here's the thing with independence. It only comes when we feel safe. It doesn't come just like that. So what I mean by this is you have a 2-year-old. So this is why it's so beautiful, because you get to see it in live. When your 2-year-old knows you're in the room, she'll probably be running around, playing, kissing people, being absolutely fine. The moment you leave, she gets anxious. Children need to know that they're loved first. Then they can explore the environment. Then they can go out and be independent. But if they're not loved by their parents, they can't be independent. They're constantly looking for codependency because they don't feel safe. So you having an abusive father and a neglectful mother means there's no way you could have enjoyed your independence at 15. It's like matter of death for you at 15. But when you've got really loving and secure, safe parents, you can do anything by yourself. Now, what happens then is when you get into relationships, until you feel safe and secure, you can't calm down. You can't soothe yourself. So, and I have the same problem. I'm super clingy, and with separation, I associate separation with paranoia. I get angry and I get upset, and I need a lot of soothing afterwards. But if I get my soothing, the moment I'm triggered and I get contact and I get relief, I let go. But if it's prolonged periods of no contact and prolonged periods of separation, I self-sabotage as well. So what I'll do is, I'm not calling you. You didn't even think to call me this morning. And I'm causing myself the pain.
Right.
So the key is actually checking in and having rituals. Having check-in rituals, morning, lunch, evening, or it might just be, I know every night we're going to FaceTime before bed. It soothes the anxiety a little bit. But the problem with people like us who are anxious is we want to see that they want the same level of intimacy as we do. We're like, how come you haven't checked in? How come you can sleep without calling me first? You must not love me. But they can do that because they grew up with a knowledge that people that love them come back.
Right.
So it's not that they don't love us and don't miss us.